Kia ora and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Taupō District Council meeting this afternoon. Lovely to have you all here. The last of the triennium. Members of the public, staff, members of the press. I presume we're all online out there, wherever you are around the world. Welcome to Taupo this afternoon. Right. First up, we have, I will ask Councillor Kingi, do you mind give us a blessing, and then we will have a minute's silence for the Queen, if that's okay? Yep. So we'll get you to do your
Oh, kia ora, Your Worship. Just open with our, for the final time with our council karakia. Tuia ki te mauri o te whenua, tuia ki te mana o te tangata, tuia ki te pono te aroha, kia piki, kia ike, ki te taumata, hui e, tae ki e.
Thank you, Councillor King. While we're standing, just seeing this is the first meeting since the passing of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, if we could just have a minute's silence for Her Majesty the Queen. Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. Okay, going to the agenda items today. Item number 1 is apologies. Do we have any apology? I don't think we do. We've got a full house. Lovely to see. No apologies.
Oh,
any
Mr. Me, sorry, just noting,
Sorry.
we were hoping to have our community board chair present today, but he sends his apologies. He's not able to make it.
Okay, thank you. That's Mr. Clint Green. Thank you very much. Councillor Kingi. Item number 2, conflicts of interest. Any conflicts of interest pertaining to the items today?
If I may, Mr. Chairman,
Councillor Body.
it's nothing to do with the licensing authority which I'm on. It's a minor one, but I'll declare that conflict of interest.
Thank you, Councillor Body. Thank you very much. Item number 3 is the confirmation of the minutes ordinary council meeting that was held on the 30th of August 2022. Any points of clarification of those minutes or any queries? That being the case, could I have a mover for those minutes? Thank you, Councillor Rankin, seconded by Councillor Leonard. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. 4.1, Health, Safety and Wellbeing Report. Mrs. Michelle McGill. Good afternoon, Michelle.
Good afternoon, Your Worship.
Welcome.
Councillors. Once again, the purpose of this report is to look at trends within the health and safety framework that we have at Council. And as you can see, we've had a couple of contractor incidents and a little bit of continuation of aggressive behaviour towards some of our staff, just a bit of reflection of the times, I guess, at the moment. Is there any questions or anything that you'd like me to elaborate on?
Sorry, Michelle, just Tim move that towards you. So just so everyone in the back, yeah, just pull it around.
Oh,
Pull the actual thing around. Pull it in. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Right. Sorry. I hope everyone got that. Councillor Leonard.
I just noticed there the initiative around looking after the staff involved in the Three Waters reform. I just wondered whether was there any need for that to spread further across the organisation? Just thinking, you know, sort of the comments post-COVID and the general feeling out there, and perhaps us being a bit short-staffed and things like that, whether others needed support, or did you feel that was okay?
It's a good question. Where this is particularly pitched at is, you know, our wastewater and water treatment staff will be engaged with the reform. We also have other workers that are involved behind the scenes with the Three Waters reform, and just ensuring that they're totally informed with the transition, and if there's any support we can offer them in the transition period.
Thank you.
Cool. Any other questions of resolution, please? Yep. No other questions of Michelle? No, all good. There's a recommendation up there. Could I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Guy, seconded by Councillor Westman. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you.
4.2, Taupō District Council Performance Report, August 2022. Mr Green.
Thank you, Your Worship. So
Yeah.
we've got the A-team of Jeanette and Pernell who's going to come in and walk you through the report. Just in the opening pages of the report, we've got the CEO's commentary there, and I've provided some comments from my perspective, some of the key things that we've been involved in over the last month. And obviously the Three Waters submission that Your Worship and Councillor Taylor did to the Select Committee is a key element there. But look, rather than going through that, because I know that you've all read it, I do just want to take this opportunity on behalf of Council staff to thank the current Council. Obviously this is the last meeting of this triennium. And I know that our staff have certainly appreciated the way that we've been able to work collaboratively with the current council. It's certainly been a step up from our perspective from previous years, the way that we've managed to work as a team, and providing the advice to you to make what I think has been good decisions in quite a stressful environment when you put COVID and other elements into the mix of the last 3 years. So certainly want to thank those councillors who are stepping down or retiring, and those who are stepping down but don't yet know it. Also thank you for their service. But as I say, as a triennium, I think we've been incredibly well served, and when I travel around the country and look at other councils, I certainly think that this council has been one of the best, if not the best, in the country in the way that we've been able to work together. So from myself, from the executive team and the wider organisation of staff, thank you very much for that 3 years. And then I'll hand over to Pernell and Jeanette.
Thank you, Mr Green. Jeanette and Pernell, good afternoon, ladies.
Good afternoon, Your Worship. Ngā mihi o te ahiahi. I'll start with a significant projects update, and I guess since our last meeting in August, we've had a lot of really good work done, particularly in those larger shovel-ready projects. But I just wanted to make a comment in particular. There's been a general increase of about 3% overall across the board, and you'll note there's been a couple of projects like Kettle Drive roundabout that have moved off the list. I guess overall, for our water projects, we've seen some really good progress. Note that there's only 2 on this list. Obviously there's been a change with the Kinloch drinking water standards membrane plant in the budget status from green to amber, as we know a little bit more about the geothermal design and some of that kind of unforeseen ground conditions, which often brings things to light. Regarding the transport projects, some of you may have been involved in the Turangi Street revitalisation replanting, or have seen some information in regards to the Package 2 replanting program, which included 3 schools from the Turangi area, Te Kura o Hirangi School, Tongariro and Turangi College, and it was a really wonderful success. So there's been a great little bit of footage there of some of that replanting process. Good progress with the ETA, if anyone's been out there recently, we're almost up to Broadlands. Wastewater, Southern Trunk Main, you will have been involved in a workshop more recently on that. Therefore, we got some early cost estimates. There's really no reason to say that budget's orange, so it's now green. No major status changes with TTCT, Waiora or the airport. Steady delivery underway, and I'll just note that the Three Waters Reform Program Tranche 1 is complete, and we've actually moved that commentary up into the main part of the main body of the report. And our project completion report was actually used as an exemplar by DIA for other TAs in terms of the overall management of that collection of projects. And Three Waters reform activities are now in the upper section regarding reform. So there's been a general ramping up of activities, and there's a finance RFI that's gone out to the team due back at the end of October. One other thing to note, we're really proud to say we're about to kick off a 2-day iwi hapu project management piece, where we're actually working with a number of iwi hapu partners on case studies of their specific projects that they undertake. And it's kind of crossed over with our project management methodology, but made in a slightly bespoke image, so we can work through how some of those more challenging projects, where you're not about necessarily building something in the ground, some of those challenging projects get across the line. So we're looking forward to kicking that off next month. Thank you.
Hello everybody. Got the financial report and I would take it as read unless there's any questions I can answer those. Just one modification, the capital expenditure, there was a late contract payment that came in, so that 9.7 is probably about 10.6 now for the year to date.
Very good. Any questions, Jeanette? Financials? No? Straightforward. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else in the performance report at all? No? That's it. Councillor Park.
Just through the chair, I just think it would be fair just to reply to Gareth's comment on the makeup of this council and working alongside management and staff. I agree. I think it's been an absolutely fantastic triennium, and we have worked a lot online as we've all been locked up at home. And I just think the flexibility and adaptability of staff to go from long-term plan or annual plan to shovel ready and then readjust was absolutely outstanding, and I think we can be very proud of our collective team effort.
Yeah. Very good. Thank you, Councillor Park. Those words, I'm sure, are echoed by everyone. There's some recommendation up there that we accept the performance report. Could I have a move, please? Thank you, Councillor Boddy, seconded by Councillor Guy. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. 4.3, Taupō District Council Council Mark Report. Julie.
Good afternoon, Your Worship and Councillors. Apologies from Nick, unfortunately he's unwell today. This report really provides you formally a copy of the Council Mark Assessment Report. Obviously this is now public and has been made publicly available for some time, but in order to provide it to you formally, it's on your agenda. Obviously it's a great chance to celebrate the result from that Council Mark Assessment, and for staff it's also a chance to think about how we continue to improve as well, so that piece of work is underway. Happy to answer any questions.
Cool, thanks Julie. Thank you very much. It's quite clear in the report. Certainly great achievement, but as you say, still things to work on, which is great. Thank you, Julie, Deputy CEO. Any questions of Julie?
Just a comment, just
Councillor
on page
Williamson.
33, just qualify support Anna's comments around the assessor's comments around council operates as a cohesive organisation with a collective commitment to improving the full well-beings of the district. So it was very pleasing to get that feedback.
Cool. Thanks, Julie. Okay, recommendation. Cool. Recommendation.
Before you do, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Boddy.
On the first page, it actually has a statement that while numerous opportunities for further improvement is stated, when we go through the report, there are some areas, and I'd just like to pick up, if I may, on two. One was in regards to, and this may be a matter of timing, in regards to our existing debt. It states here, as a consequence of debt has reduced from peak of 168 in 2014 to 147 by 2020. Isn't it in the 190s at the moment? Would that be correct?
Mr. Peckham, can someone answer that, please?
Councillor Boddy, you're right. Certainly on the council, on the rise, and will be on the rise through the current long-term plan period. That's because we've got a particularly capital-heavy long-term plan, and we're deploying a lot of capital at the moment, especially in relation to water assets. Water assets for us at the moment are fully debt-funded. That's because we've already exhausted our reserves with the renewal of water.
Okay, thank you. That's understandable. I'm just wondering whether the report as stated is correct.
We'll go back and have another look at it just to double check that, but it has been through a factual accuracy review, so I'd expect that it is correct.
Could just two more comments, if I may, Mr. Chairman. Under accounting reporting, it talks of the framework for reporting is poor, relying almost entirely on surveys of limited value and statutory reporting requirements. What is management going to do to improve that particular issue in that report?
Council body, we're still working on all of the recommendations in the report and finalising what we'll be doing about them. I think that's really a function of the reporting framework that's employed across all of local government, not necessarily specific to TDC. So to some extent it's to do with the environment that we operate in.
Thank you for that. Just one more point, if I may, Mr. Chairman. On the same area, establishment of business case for investment, while these are constructive steps, capital project management from the initial investment decisions through to ongoing management and reporting still has a lot of room for improvement. Those words concern me.
Again, thank you, Council body, for picking that up. It's a very timely recommendation, that one, and there's quite a bit of commentary in the Council Mark report about the better business case framework and the opportunity for TDC to make better use of that. It's timely because we're about to roll into the next long-term planning cycle, and that's when we do a lot of our business casing activity, and we look at all of the investment in front of us and work out what makes sense and what should rise to the top of the list. So we will be using that better business case framework as we roll into the next long-term plan and training our staff and our management decision makers on the best use of that framework.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Buddy. Thank you, Mr. Peckham. Any other questions, queries? Yeah?
Just very quickly, it's a minor one. Under communications, although council has a media policy dealing with the process issues, it lacks strategy for dealing with the new media. Is that supposed to be news media?
No, it's actually, it's new media. I think their reference was in relation to social media and similar things like that. What happened is the assessment was sent in when we were working on a communication strategy. That strategy has now been updated, and we certainly have plans around the social media. So it was a timing matter.
Thank you.
I think we're all struggling with the new media. Councillor Taylor.
Not sure what new media is. A question and a comment. Just in terms of the areas for improvement, I think, Geordie, you partially answered this. Am I right to assume that there are work streams within council staff to address those things and pick up on that?
Absolutely. So as Andrew said, we haven't had a chance yet to prepare an implementation plan, but that'll be the next step from this, is a plan showing what the improvements are and how we're going to address those.
Cool. Just one comment I note on page 11, just reference to the Lake Taupo Protection Project. And I'm just conscious of an item was on the national news media over the weekend, and our own environmental standards policies that we implemented last month. I just find it extraordinary that we're having such difficulty getting our regional partners to come to the table on this. So at the risk of politicking, I congratulate council staff and Councillor Leonard for the work we have done, and actually throw the gauntlet down, pick up the ball. Thanks.
Yeah. All good? Okay, thank you, Councillor Taylor. All right. Is the recommendation up there? Could I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Leonard, seconded by Councillor Rankin. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. 4.4, approval to notify plan changes 42 and 43 of the Taupō District Plan. Hilary, good afternoon, Hilary.
Kia ora, councillors and mayor. I know I've dumped a lot of reading in your inboxes again, so my apologies for that, but hopefully all that background work will carry through into a smooth hearing process going forward. I will take the item as read really and just let you direct me with any questions. I will obviously just highlight that we had a bit of a curveball come at us with the MPS for highly productive land last week. They last consulted on that in 2019 and hadn't heard much about it until Monday last week when it turned up in our inboxes. So there is obviously that extra paper that I circulated via email where you'll just need to do some considering about how we approach Plan Change 42, the rural plan change, which will need to change slightly to make sure it works with that MPS.
So Leonard.
Sorry, Hilary, I just know that a few people in my part of the world will be asking, they've still got the chance to be heard, even though we're notifying at this point. And their opinions could be just as valued as what the government's change in direction could be around the highly productive land, etc. So there's still, we've come up with a plan here, but they can submit and tweak. And do we still go ahead with what the central government are looking at doing? I don't know the answer to that.
So first question, definitely through the first schedule process, definitely encourage everyone to input, even if they support or oppose the plan change. It's quite important to be involved through the process because there's two lots of submission processes, and if people don't get involved in the first one, then they can't put in a second one. And just in relation to the NPS question, it is mandatory once the NPS comes into force on the 17th of October. We must take it into account through our plan change. So that's a problem if we notify beyond the 17th, because we haven't at this point met the requirements of the NPS. So we've got two options there. We can notify prior to the 17th, which sort of just takes care of the technicality that we haven't considered it. But at the same time, we still would do the assessment that we're required to do under the NPS and carry that through in parallel so that we have that available through the hearing process to consider.
Thank you very much.
Excellent. No other questions of Hilary? No? Quite a milestone today, Hilary. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're underway. Thank you very much, Hilary. Appreciate that. So that's the recommendation up there. We've got all that tickety-boo, have we?
Yeah, so that number 6 is just the extra one which came through later on, just to signal that option for how we approach the NPS for highly productive land.
Yep, cool. And as Councillor Leonard says, still opportunity for people to submit. So,
Yes.
Very good. It's up on the board. Do I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Taylor, seconded by Councillor Westerman. All those in favour, please say aye. Thanks, Hilary.
Thank you.
Right, 4.5, resolution for paid parking at the Taupo Airport. Julie.
Oh, kia ora koutou. The purpose of this report is really to present the work that has been done by the Taupo Airport Authority in developing a parking strategy. This paper requests Council to implement that strategy through the use of your traffic bylaw. That bylaw allows you to set terms and conditions or fees on land that's in your control. So the intention is to introduce paid parking at the airport to align with the opening of the new terminal. The charges are outlined in your paper. We are one of the last remaining regional airports not to use paid parking as a means of offsetting ratepayer contribution towards that activity. And this would obviously be introduced subject to MOT approval, given it's a CCO with our airport. In fact, actually, just while I'm on that, I think we're the last airport that Air New Zealand flies to that there's not paid parking in place. The strategy that's outlined in your agenda shows the work that TAA have done to compare to other airports and to set what's deemed to be reasonable fees, and they would be reviewed after 12 months as well. So happy to answer any questions.
Councillor Park.
Thank you, Your Worship. Julie, just to clarify, and probably for those who are listening out there more than anything, that Taupo Airport is a joint venture with the Crown, therefore it's not like usual fees and charges where you would go out and consult. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. So that's why we have to seek approval from MOT before they're implemented.
Great. So once they're in place, and the review in 12 months will be done through the same process through the TAA, it's not a usual council fees and charges.
Because it's a CCO, it's quite a different process.
Thank you.
Correct.
Councillor Mack.
Just for clarity, so your hourly rate is $2, but your day rate is $14. How does it, if you like, constitute a day? Because what I'm thinking is we don't get many flights to and from. So if you're somebody who goes to Auckland at 9 o'clock and comes back at 6, you're going to be pinged more than the day rate?
So it'll be around the daily flights, I guess, is how
Yes.
you'd have. Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, so you'll get $18 for that flight for that day. What's the day makeup?
We cut off at the $14 mark. Yeah,
Oh,
maximum.
right. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Cool.
Do you get a credit if the flight's cancelled?
I'm not sure, but I'll ask that one.
You'll be too busy doing credit. You'll be doing credits every day then.
Hopefully
no,
not.
that's right. Is that all right? Yeah, cool.
Yes, through the chair, I think
Yes, Councillor Williamson.
I think a free parking period, 30 minutes seems very fair, very generous as well. Time to have a cup of coffee or chop a pasture. But I guess even the $2 for an hour is still quite reasonable as well, so it seems to be very fair.
Very good. Thank you very much, Julie. Councillor Guy, are you happy to move that? Yep. Yep, and thank you to the airport committee for doing all the work on that.
Well,
that
I
scenario
think
too.
thank you should go to Wayne Wootton, who has worked very closely with TAA on this
Yes.
strategy, and yeah, I'm happy to
Cool.
put forward the resolution.
Thank you very much. Moved by Councillor Guy, seconded by Councillor Rankin. Up on the board there. All in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thank you, Julie. 4.6, Southern Lake Taupo Health Trust ground lease in Turangi. Mr. Philip King. Good afternoon, Philip.
Good afternoon, Your Worship, Councillors. This is to consider enter into a deed of ground lease for 6 Tautoko Grove, which is adjoining to the land that the Taupo Southern Lakes Health Trust have, which was purchased by Council in 2010 with the provision in mind to allow for them to expand their services when the time came good, to allow for them to provide better services or continue the services for that Turangi community. The intention is to line up the existing lease with the new lease on 6 Tautoko Grove, and to dispose of the building there that also sits on that land. I'm happy to discuss any part of it that you'd like.
Thank you, Philip. Any questions of Philip?
Through the chair. So just a couple of things. Obviously, we know about the existing loan that they have.
Yes.
And you're saying in the report that they've kept up to date with their, or generally kept up to date with their interest payments?
Yes.
But that's only the interest payments.
Correct.
So we're over halfway into this loan now. Will they be able to service, do you know, the actual debt by the time that the loan's due?
From what I understand, the debt's not due till 25 years from 2008, so 2033 before that debt's
I get that,
paid
but
down.
we're over halfway in now, and they still haven't paid any of the principal.
I'm not sure that the debt's set up with a requirement for that to happen. I thought it might be interest only, but I can't answer that, Your Worship.
Jeanette in the back, Finance Manager.
Right.
Jeanette.
The principal is due for repayment at the end of the term. It's not a table mortgage.
Okay. So we had discussions through the community board that they were looking at maybe paying it up soon. Do we know if anything came of that? And the only reason I'm questioning this is because what's happening is we're going to now go into a lease on another building, and we had this discussion with them as well. Where would the money come to build a new building? Much as that's not our problem, they still have a debt with us already, and the answer was that they were going to pay back the debt they had with us already, which they're not legally obligated to do, but there's been some issues with the fact that the loan was put on hold for quite a while.
Well,
Yeah, well, from what I understand, it's due in 2033, so we haven't,
right,
not behind or defaulting or in any way other than paying the interest on the annual basis, which they're in general doing.
Okay.
But if they want to pay it early, we wouldn't be offended by that.
Would not be offended, I wouldn't have thought.
Jeanette.
And just the second part is the new lease 18 by 33 by 33. We had another discussion not long ago about 33 years being an unusual lease term. Would that be correct?
It's on a private piece of land as opposed to reserve, so some of the other considerations that we've had through council. But it's purely to line up with the existing lease, which dates back to 2010 or whenever that dated back to, 13 years ago. So it's to purely line up with that to make it simple simple and easy to manage and administer going forward.
Through
Bearing
the
in,
chairs.
bearing in mind it's a peppercorn $1 a year agreement.
Through the chair, 33 years is actually really common for our leases on privately owned land, and that's the maximum that you can go to without needing a subdivision consent under the Resource Management Act. So if you're not constrained by Reserves Act and other things that PK talks about, then that's the maximum turn you can do on a private piece of land.
Okay. We do need this in Turangi. I'm all for it. Just a couple of those questions. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Councillor Mack. Thank you.
Just a
Philip.
comment.
Councillor Kingi.
Yeah, just thanks for the paper, Phil. Prior to entering council, I was well aware of the intentions of the trust, particularly around this, the Miti o Te Grove section, and so I suppose for me it's just ensuring that the trust is consistent with the conversation they had with council in those early days, which is so long as it's for the purposes of something that advances the health and well-being of our community, then it's consistent with that. So on that basis, I'm very supportive of it. Noting John's comments just around the financial component, but like other small communities, the existing facility is at capacity, has been for some time, so it was no surprises that they needed to expand to increase their footprint and therefore offering of service. So I'm happy to move recommendation, Chair.
Just a question, and I may be getting confused. Was there an issue with another group that was using the other building, and did that get cleared up, or was that in another part of the town?
Yeah, there was it was previously leased, but it's been sitting vacant since 2020, and it was previously leased to the one of the sport trusts in Turangi, but it has been sitting there since 2020, vacant, but it was used through the COVID for like a red zone by Pihanga Health.
I just recall something coming up about that.
Yeah. Can I just clarify that? So
Councillor Mack.
What happened was when COVID came along, you're right, it was actually being leased on a month by month by the Sports Foundation. They happily gave up the lease for the COVID part of this. I'm assuming because it's still empty, they didn't want the lease back again, but I'm guessing because they did give it up for that reason, but it was only month to month. So the fact is that we can do this anyway. I just guess that the community at that time were doing the right thing, if you like, for COVID.
Right.
But I think they've now got another space anyway, haven't they? Toms, do they have a new place to go?
Yeah, what I recall of it, just through the chair, was I think there was some intention that they wanted to work alongside council for the new event centre and utilising some of those community spaces. So I think some of the offset was other facilities that come online to support them. So yeah, but I think what you've said is largely correct, that they vacated using somewhere else until such time that they can come back to council and ask for some space.
So I think that issue was actually cleared up with them and they were quite happy. Yeah.
All good. Very good. Okay, thank you very much. A couple of recommendations up there. I think we did have a mover, didn't we? Thank you, Councillor Kingi. Seconded by Councillor Mack. All those in favour, 1 and 2, say aye. Against, carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Philip. 4.7, 72 Lake Terrace, licence to occupy. We've got Mr. Dennis Lewis. Good afternoon, Dennis.
Good afternoon, Your Worship, Councillors. Have an item here for the for a delegation of authority to the CE to negotiate a licence to occupy for 72 Lake Terrace. That's the car park area just outside of where the old council offices used to be. Just one minor change to the report. Under the background, you'll note reference there to 2 attachments. There is only 1 attachment, and that attachment shows the proposed licence area. I'll take the agenda as read and take any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lewis. Everyone familiar with the site? Any questions? Councillor Taylor.
Just in terms of the termination clause, talks about if we were to require the land for any roading project, blah blah blah, in the current 10-year long-term plan. does that lock us into what is now written, or what about the next iteration of the long-term plan?
Current,
Is it the long-term plan, or is it just what's written there now? Because
current 10-year long-term plan. Yep.
so we're locked into that, what is now? No. Also current at the time. Sorry, misreading it. That clears it up. Thank you.
Councillor Westerman.
And just under that, where it says if the council exercises the termination right on the councillors to replace the car parks on a like-for-like basis, and I know it does sort of refer later on that, you know, if we can't, then it's we don't have to. Is that what I'm reading here? Because I'm struggling to work out what we could supply to that operator on a like-for-like basis in that location.
So that still subject to final negotiation, and I guess at the time that might occur, then we would, the council of the time would need to look at what options they've got to replace those car parks.
It's good struggle. It's okay. Council body.
Just very quickly, and probably what Councillor Taylor was talking about, we do have the weekend market there, and I don't know what the implications will be for a hotel car park, but I raised the issue this morning about the tour buses with a number of hotels we're going to get, and I don't think we've really ascertained where these tour buses are going to park, and I would hate to see an area such as that was going to be used for the parking solely of one hotel to narrow down where we can put some of these buses. In the past, I know Kiwi Experience have used Kaunihera Street, but there'll be more and more buses coming in. So I'm just wondering whether, if we make that decision now, whether we stop from making another type of decision for that particular piece of ground.
Any reply to that, Dennis? I presume bus parking will be considered in the future at some stage.
Yeah, through the chair, we have provided bus parking on Kaunihera Street, on street, but especially for buses and other heavy vehicles. There's also parking on the eastern side of that same section of Kaunihera Street for bus parking. There's parking on the eastern side of, western side of Rifle Range Road that would be suitable for bus parking. So there is quite a fair amount of parking available for buses at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis, for that answer. I'm looking ahead, maybe even 10, 15 or 20 years.
Cool. Thank you, Councillor Body. Councillor Park.
Yeah, just through the chair, I know that this has been delayed somewhat because of the last few years that we've been through, and I'm all for Taupo moving forward, and we do have a real shortage of accommodation in this bracket. And as just talking to my colleague, note that it is a non-exclusive licence to occupy, so I'd be happy to move the resolution, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Councillor Park. Councillor Leonard.
I'm just concerned that last month we had TMG here looking for a 30-year licence, and we shook that back to 15 years, and now we've got this. I do understand one's on a reserve and one is on different classifications of land, but I'm just really concerned that we've got one with one and one with another, and I just don't see that as being very fair.
Okay. Thank you for your comments. Been moved by Councillor Park. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Taylor. The recommendation is up there. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against?
No,
Carry.
could I have it recorded, please?
Yep. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Body. Okay. 4.8, Taupō District Council Traffic Control Device Update. Mr. Bryson Huxley. Good afternoon, Bryson.
That's better. Today I'll take this paper as read. I'll give a brief overview. As part of the Taupo Town Centre Transformation Project, we're putting in a wonderful space out on the front of the shops and towards the lakefront and Lake Robert Street. In order to do this and to meet the goals of the project, we need to create a shared zone where we're in such that vehicles need to give way to pedestrians, and it's a slow environment where people can traverse the site and the area where they like. So in order to do that, we have a number of items here to do that. This zone is also a one-way street 90% of the time, and other the time will be under traffic management to accommodate it. There's also parking being provided in this area, so we have those parking time limits. The main reason why this is coming to council this time is because it's set due to open just before Christmas, and therefore we need these rules in place in order to make the site function as it should do.
Thanks, Bryson. Any questions of Bryson? Councillor Body?
Just very quickly, you believe that the 15 minutes outside that particular area is adequate? You talked about pickups. It's when you walk in an order. It may take longer than 15 minutes. Is that long enough?
There's only about 4 car parks at 15 minutes. If you're thinking you might need longer, there are other options for those people 60 minutes down the road, or if like there's parking on Ferry Road and other roads around the area to accommodate for that.
Through the chair, just obviously you mentioned 10%. Obviously that traffic management will be any infrastructure work be done or not. I assume it's not going to be any events down there in the precinct from now on.
Potentially there could be some. Once it's finished construction, the idea of the space is meant to be adaptive. So you're meant to be able to close some areas off. In order to, we have to put these bylaws in place to get the space functioning 90% of the time. But that other 10% of the time, for events and other activities, we'll need to put some other traffic management in there to really utilise that space to its full ability.
Cool. For clarification, Bryson.
Okay, any other questions, Bryson? There's a recommendation up on the board there. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Lang, seconded by Councillor Williamson. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you, Bryson. Adoption 4.9 of the speed management plan and speed limits. You again, sir? Or Dennis, sorry.
Dennis started.
Yeah,
thank
sorry,
you.
Dennis.
Thank you, Your Worship. Look, I'm just going to introduce this item and then hand it over to Bryson. Council recalled 2 or 3 weeks back we had a workshop with Council and we went through the proposed speed management plan, the changes, the results of the public consultation, and so this paper really confirms those changes that we spoke to you about, and I'll let Bryson go through the item.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Bryson.
I just kind of want to start off with a bit of an introduction of where this has come from and why we're looking at speed limits and speed management plans. There is safety issues out on our road, and there is risk when we drive. So this is really about mitigating risk and safety for the general public and as we drive on our roads. The speed limits that we proposed in this plan are based around the risk. And I've mentioned this in a few workshops to council around how severe, as the speed increases, the severity of a crash increases as well, and that we need to control speed to control the risk of death and serious injuries on our roads. But it's also based on traffic volumes, alignment of the road, past history of crashes. Those all come into the place when we're deciding speed limits. And the speed management plan kind of forms 2 key things. Forms the principles or how we set speed limits, why we choose speed limits for different pieces of road. Those are set out, and the priority of when they're planning on changing speed limits or when we're looking at speed limits for different roads. So today we're going to go through the speed management plan itself and the priority 1 changes that we're proposing. This plan is an interim speed management plan. So that essentially means in the future that it's going to be changed to a regional speed management plan, and that goes through RTC. But this is just an interim one. This speed management plan hasn't just come from central government. We haven't just been, this is actually an item in our transport strategy back in 2022. This has come forward in a number of places that we need to be focusing on how we use our roads and what speeds we be using for safety. I guess I don't. Should we just move on to the speed limit changes, or?
So, through the chair, just to reinforce that the message about the my computers. Here we go. So the key things that we were looking at for speed limits was in that priority one was streets around schools, redevelopment of the Taupo township area, the community centre in Turangi, ratification of new or unclassified roads, so that's new subdivisions that currently aren't incorporated in the speed limit bylaw, additional roads adjacent to those to provide logical network completeness, and rural roads with high safety issues. So Bryce will now go through the table of all of the different speed limits, and if council could indicate their acceptance or otherwise.
Sorry, just through the chair, I just wanted to highlight, Dennis and Bryson probably know this so well that they haven't maybe explicitly explained it, but we've broken down the speed limit changes into options, and council has the option on each one to select to proceed with them or not, and that's itemized in the table that we'll go through. So just to call that out.
So this table is largely set out in the order that I spoke of earlier with the summary of speed limits.
So the first item in the schedule of speed changes is around schools. And these schools in particular are about changing the speed limit outside their schools to a permanent 30. Okay. So
sorry, through the chair, I take you want discussion on this as we go through each line item?
Yes.
Okay. So reading through the survey results, your first question about the purpose of the speed management plan, one thing I picked up is it appeared that people didn't clearly understand what it was all about. Well, that's the impression I got when I was reading the responses to that first question. And I wonder, looking at this one in particular, you've got 72% of people agree. I'm in two minds as to whether people actually know what they're agreeing to. And this comes down to unintended consequences. They have 30 Ks permanently, school holidays, weekends, when there are no kids there, and in the mind of the average motorist, I just wonder whether you're going to reinforce the fact, well, there's no kids there, why am I doing 30? And I'm not arguing against safety, but I'm saying if people see things, having dealt with one or two drivers over 1 or 2 years, if they don't understand why they're being required to do something, they simply won't do it. And we end up undermining the whole regime. That's just some overall comments.
On that, some of these roads, we've typically only proposed permanent 30s on roads that are generally either dead-end roads or are slow at currently. The current speeds that people drive on them are reasonably slow. For instance, Taupo Intermediate around by the hospital, going towards that hospital, you know, there's activity there outside times. Taupo Primary, those streets we're proposing 30 are the town centre streets, so they're going to be 30 anyway in the further item. Some of them just, you know, kind of just tell us that 30 is the right thing to do, and that's why we kind of propose 30.
Through the chair, I hear what Councillor Taylor's saying. I also perhaps would imagine if it's 30k all year round, it's just being ingrained in the subconscious of motorists when they're passing schools. So that could be one advantage in the long run.
Be fair, following what Councillor Taylor is saying, if we go down to the next page, it does have the signage where the school hours are, and then outside of those hours, it's got 50, but the proposal is to keep it at 30, but it can't be all year round. There seems to be a contradiction in the two.
So the first item is 30k all year round. The next item is about variable speeds, and it usually involves a variable speed sign, which is an electronic sign set out in front of the school, which does come with a cost.
And typically those, excuse me, those roads where you've got variable speed signs are where you've got a through route, so they're not typically a residential street like Spa Road, where we currently have a variable speed sign.
I suppose just to go with what Councillor Taylor says, I do agree that you sort of overcook it, because in theory we're doing 50 now. On the other pages we're doing variable speed, as you say, because it's outside of school. If you don't come from this area, and I've said this before, I go to other towns, I haven't got a clue what speed I'm doing because they've got so many different speeds. I go through Waitanui now and it has the 40 variable. I slow to 40 because it tells me to do so, you know what I mean? It's like I'm making sense of that because it's a school day. But it only comes on during school time. It doesn't come on a weekend. It doesn't come on when there's no children, as Councillor Taylor says. I think people become blind to it and will just keep going at 50 if there's no reason for kids being there. I think you've got to be uniform, I think. Outside of school, it should be 30, you know, on a variable time as they're at school.
So just through the chair, so this is why we broke these items down piece by piece, so that you had the chance to look at them separately and choose a course of action for each one that's appropriate to the condition.
So let's be really clear. I'm not arguing against a lower speed zone. I'm just conscious that people will default to what feels right and they'll just drive accordingly, and I just don't want to set us up for failure. But sorry, picking up on Dennis' comment you made about through roads, if that's the case, then Invergary Road doesn't fit in that first group anyway, because it's a through road.
Do we? No, that's correct.
Can I suggest then, through the chair, if you put Invergary Road, take that out and make it variable on the basis of your comment before about it being a through road, because that logically makes sense, I would be happy to sit down and be quiet about the rest. Ooh, for now.
What a compromise. Just through the chair, I just have, with the Taupo Intermediate, you have Kotari, Liston and Tawa non-variable, but then on Kettle Drive and with the Lake Taupo Christian School, and it is also the other exit for the Taupo Intermediate, you're having variable. I just don't see where the consistency is there, because there's just as many children leaving the intermediate on that Kettle Drive side as there are, and I know that the road environments are very different, but that Kettle Drive area between Invergary Road and the roundabout on Taharipa after school is just as busy as trying to get across the bridge. So I don't know what the answer is, but I just wonder about the inconsistency of messages around the intermediate if you've got half the school non-variable and the other half non.
I guess the consistency is there because in the school it's all 30, whichever way they walk out to the road, it's all 30. The reason why Kettle Drive's on the variable, because it's more of a smaller arterial, for the lack of better words. It does take a lot of traffic and a lot of through traffic during the middle of the day. Again, so it doesn't, like Councillor Taylor's comments, it doesn't make sense to make that permanent 30 because of the high increase of traffic throughout the whole day rather than just...
Sure, just through the chair, given the huge use in that Kettle Drive area, there's a gate out of the back of the intermediate which is literally direct to an entry exit of the Lake Taupo Christian School. Instead of a pedestrian refuge, it sort of lends itself to a zebra crossing. Is that something that the transport team could consider to help that environment with a variable sign?
Yes, it's something we could consider, yep.
Ringatai School, that's that little road that goes on the side there.
I think that should be considered like Tarahonga School.
And, yeah. But it's you mean the same speed?
School zone time.
Yeah. It's that little road, isn't it? It only lends itself to 30k, though, doesn't it?
I mean, not wanting to be disrespectful, it's probably the only time there's any traffic on the road anyway.
Yeah. The road is simply to access the school, and it's only on this list because it's an actual legal road. Otherwise, we would have seen it as more of a school driveway.
Yeah, it's more of a driveway, isn't it? Yeah. Tauranga, so variables down to 30k, correct?
So just to clarify on this point, this is have a speed limit change from 100 to 80 with a variable of 30 during school times. Yeah. So.
And the 80 is just the piece through
It's
the
just
school.
the piece that includes the school and the community hall.
Whakamaru School. Councillor Body.
That comment, you're saying that it would remain 80, but only past the school. If the road would remain at 100, but only past the school at 80 outside of school hours.
Correct.
It's really, really difficult.
So the logic behind that is because having to have a vehicle drop from 100 to 30 is quite a big drop, and you need a lot of sight distance to achieve that. So we're looking at having the 80 as well to help with that.
Confusion.
But just in response to that, I think it's good to go down to 80 because it's not just the school, it's the community hall as well. It's kind of like the hub of Tauranga, so to slow down in that area makes total sense.
Yeah. Robert Street, down to 10.
So have we done
sorry, did we do Whakamaru? Variable? Sorry, I thought you were talking to that Kirsty. You were happy with that, Whakamaru? Yeah. Robert Street.
So this now item number 7, Robert Street, is a kind of an association with the previous paper about the shared pathway. So this is kind of really linked together. It's really to create that, shared space type environment and having people walking across this road and making sure it's nice and safe for them to do so.
Taupo Town Centre. 50 to 30.
Yep.
Everyone happy with that? Yep. Broadlands Road. From Miro Street on ramp.
Lake Terrace.
Oh, Lake
Line.
Terrace, sorry, I didn't see that, yeah. Lake Terrace, State 1 to existing 50k boundary.
So this one has been brought in due to feedback through the consultation. There were a lot of comments saying, what about this piece as this piece of road continues to develop on either side. There's a lot more people, a lot more walkers, a lot more cyclists in the area, a lot, especially with the development out towards the airport and the what the name of the place?
Rainbow Point.
Through the chair, it's from the airport roundabout basically
Yes.
through to Rainbow Point.
Yes.
Or the Rainbow Shops.
Yes.
Remember, yeah, 50k. Happy? As long as you're not late for a flight. Go the other way. It'll be cancelled anyway. Okay, thank you, Bryce. Very good suggestion there, 50k. All right, Broadlands Road. Miro Street.
So this is the section of Broadlands Road just from Miro Street all the way out to the on-ramp or to State Highway. So it's at this piece of land down to the one side is being developed at the moment. There's proposed more developments happening in that area. So
to the dump.
Not to the dump before, to the on-ramp.
Off-ramp, okay. 50k. Okay, everyone happy with that? Paitiki shopping. We'll calm that down to 30k, makes sense. Councillor Park?
Just through the chair, with the consortium that own Paitiki shops, did they submit to this? Excuse my ignorance, I can't remember.
I don't believe so.
It was in the original master plan. Remember we had a conversation about it, and that was one of the recommendations in that original master plan.
Crown Road, existing from the existing 50k sign to Napier Road. So that's the whole of Crown Road go down to 60. Yep. Out
Yes,
towards
from what it is now. Yep.
Yep. Cool.
No. So it goes from the 50 km/h, 80 km/h sign that's existing there at the moment through to Napier Road, and this is due to the continual development of that area as well.
Yep. It's about all built out, isn't it? Right. Whariwaka. So Whariwaka, you talking? Oh, the actual roads in Whariwaka.
Yes. Yep. Yes. This is the streets.
50 to 40.
Yeah.
Pokura.
Sorry, just through the chair, will that include Kokamea village, which is right next door as well? And now we've got the linkages through with, is it the Tahara Ridge?
No, they haven't been on the list. So though these are just for the Whariwaka area. I guess they will
Roto Estate.
They'll come
yes.
on.
Okay, thank you.
Pokura Road, north. You have to tell me where that is, Kylie.
Whakamaru.
Whakamaru.
So this one's kind of connected with the school.
Okay.
This one's connected with the school, so we're changing the speed limit in front of the school from 70 to 60, and this is the follow-on that goes all the way out to the state highway.
Okay. Very good. Waireki Village. Happy with that? Kauri Drive. That's in Waireki Village, isn't it? Yeah. Councillor Taylor?
So, item number 16, the same comments apply to that as previously, particularly in relation to being a through road. I get it, it's outside the school, but it's also a through road. So I question that. Happy with the 40 all the way through the rest of it, but I just, for the same reasons as before.
What, number 16? So you want that at 40? Yeah.
I still have problems with page 1, to be honest with you, because I do, I'm sorry. All of these are, I know, before we go any further, all of these are specific to what we're doing, and as Councillor Taylor just said there, that's a school, 50 to 30, but it's not going to tell you that it's a school zone. Page 1 doesn't say it's a school zone either. It just tells you you're going from 50 to 30. So you're not even going to drive into there and go, actually, I'm going 30 because it's a school zone. Is it going to say on that sign school zone all times?
Yeah, so we have to put school zone signs up, and they are already up. There's a general warning school sign. We could obviously extend that a bit further and include road marking paint, because what we find is the road marking, the painting the speed limit on the road is actually quite effective instead of just putting the sign up. We have to have the sign, that's legal, but we could also do the road marking as well to reinforce those schools.
But for me, for uniformity, it should say on that sign, school zone at all times. Even though they're not there. That's what you're saying we're doing it for. On that sign.
Well, it won't say all times, it'll just have the 30 and say school zone.
But then if you don't say at all times, people aren't going to do it outside of school times. This is what Councillor Taylor was saying. You're not going to do it at midnight. You've got to say at all times, or you've got to change it to certain times. That's how I see it. I see what he's saying as well. At midnight, I wouldn't do 30 there.
What are you doing now at midnight?
Just through the chair, going back to 16, I don't actually have a problem with this, having recently been out with some residents out there with a couple of issues. There is the shopping centre on the other side, and albeit literally empty at the moment, it is on the market. But I just think with the two entrance and exits to that particular parking area and whatnot, it just makes sense for that environment to be slowed down a bit anyway.
Yeah. Well said. Okay, Oakdale Drive. 50? Yeah. Gary Drive, yeah. Gary, yeah. Gary, okay. Yeah, Oakdale, you happy with Oakdale 50k? Councillor Grant?
Yeah. So this is.
Sorry, I'm losing my concentration.
No, this is to ratify a speed limit in this area. It currently doesn't have, technically has a legal speed limit. This is to make sure the speed limit is legal.
Yeah.
So there's no speed limit until this is done?
That's good to know.
It's a test track.
Turangi Town Centre. 50 to 30. Yeah, sounds good. Turangi Road. No change. Lovely. Aotearoa Road. No change. Okay, no change. Oh, good decision. Well done. All right, Turangi Industrial. No change. Potiroa. Yes, please. Let's speak. George will be happy. Yes.
Sorry. Just coming back to 1 second for that Hirangi Road, the no change, is that, so just reading the comments here, is that, what do you mean by subject to council direction? So can we suggest that it change? Okay, so can I put that forward then as a suggestion that we do actually take it to 60?
Hirangi.
So Hirangi Road has been, and I acknowledge the comments around consultation, but the residents of that road have come to us on a number of occasions to the board around a speed reduction. So if it can be accommodated this time, I'd like to put that forward.
Is that right to the Takani Road? Hirangi Road. Where's Hirangi? Let's go down past the sports fields, eh?
Yes, but past the sports field, yeah.
So you take it 60k right to the...
Well, it's really around the community that live along there, and it's been well... it's been discussed for years about that. It did actually miss our last speed limit review, and we acknowledged that at the time. I can't remember when that was, Dennis, but it was a few years ago, and I think we gave an undertaking that we were going to address it. So I just want to put it there.
Yep, you happy with that, John?
Yeah, because they've always wanted that, and to be honest with you, it's only the locals that really use the road. While you're at that, 21 and 22, I've just read that I don't understand why they're not going to 60 actually. So what you're saying is you can bomb around the industrial area at 70, but you can't go through Wairaki at 70. Or the village, or any of the villages, you can't go through any of them at 70, it's all 60 now.
So it's totally up to you guys.
Yeah, definitely. The industrial area, you can't be going at 70 either, that's got to be a 60. And Atira Road, again, it's not, I know where that road is, it's an alright road, but it shouldn't be 100 either.
So these ones, this is the great conversation. The reason that these have been put for no change was because of the consultation feedback. But
Right.
it's up to you as councillors to say, actually, from what we've heard over a long period of time, this is appropriate. So what you're doing now is perfect and what we wanted.
Well, Atira Road's now got a camping site on it as well, so you wouldn't want to be bombing on 100.
True. Okay. Ross has got that, so
When he's out.
So Hirangi 60, Atira Road 60, and Industrial 60. That's okay? Cool.
I find it, Mr. Chairman, quite interesting. We have public consultation, where in this case 69% are against, but we're going to override what 69% have submitted and say no. So I don't follow the logic of what we go out for consultation, then we ignore it.
Just through the board, Hirangi Road though, you'd have to ask who those people were, because the people living on Hirangi Road have been very clear that they want 60.
Through the chair, just to back that up, that's where the Hirangi Marae is, and Ngāti Turangi Topo want it dropped. So I just don't see how we can disrespect considering the makeup of the residents and infrastructure on that road.
You disrespect the submitters.
Okay, so we're up to Whaira Village, 40k, happy with that? And the entrance way, 60, George. Waiting toke, 50 to 40, no change at this time. You guys happy with that? 50k alright round the
So that Waitatoka, that's actually up the hill, is it? Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
That's all right? Yeah. 50. Blake Road, Waitadu. 50 to 40, but no change at this stage. All right. Rotonaio Road. You have to go down there. 60, 100 to 60. That makes sense. It's quite a...
So this is another dead end road that comes off the state highway, and I guess it's just got a state highway 100 km speed limit, so it doesn't really make sense to be 100 when you're going to a dead end. So it's to propose for a lower speed limit.
It's not sealed either, I don't think, Bryson. This is not sealed. No. Whangamata Road, here we go. 100 to 80. Is proposed 60.
Yes, so this one, I'll just explain this a little bit more. In consultation, we proposed 80, and during consultation, we got a lot of feedback from residents around Kinloch saying that it really should be lower. The area is used for walking and cycling tracks as a loop, and so we've listened and we're proposing a further reduction down to 60.
Through the chair, I think it's fair that we should just be pointed out that it's a part of Whangamata Road and not the complete gambit.
So this is from east of Kinloch Road to west of Oakdale Drive.
So what's the length, 2k?
Probably not even that. I don't know.
Cool. You happy with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And the transfer station and both the lay-by parking areas for the Whangamata Stream Track are on that stretch of road, as is Holyoke as well. So I think that it's appropriate, and so do the local community.
Yes. There's been no deer in the venison. Got to let them live, eh? Right, Marpata Road, 70 to 60. Councillor Rankin.
Look, I do think we should respect submitters. I'm getting told all the time that people submit and we just do our own thing. So I think we should be respecting our submitters. But I live in Gillespie Place. Can I tell you, 70 kilometres down there is like a racetrack. It's only a little road with dogs and kids everywhere, and it's like, I can never believe it when I see us put a 70 sign up temporarily when they're working on that, but I'm only one person and everybody else thinks it should stay the way it is, but interesting.
So
I'm saying we should.
70 kVA in Gillespie Place too fast, isn't it?
Well,
Yeah.
it's incredibly fast, but so are all those, and nobody wants it to change. So I'm saying we should respect the submitters, but hell, 70 is fast down some of those little streets, and mine's little. But I'm not advocating we change it. I think we have to go with what people want. But
So leave it at
quite
70?
fast. I'm just making a point.
Okay. So just leave it at the
I
moment.
probably do want to just note that I did note that through some of the when I was reading through some of the consultation that some people who pushed the disagree button or disagreed with it did actually disagree for the reason they wanted a lower speed limit. So there's probably about 5 people who disagreed with it, but actually wanted a lower speed limit in their comments. So it's not, when you look at the percentages for this one in particular, not so much the other ones, but this one in particular, there were people who submitted disagree, but they actually had a comment for wanting lower speed limits. They wanted it down to 50.
And I understand that, because even 60 in what's like in Gillespie is really fast. So how do you fix that? You can't.
Is there any way that you can separate out Mapara Road from these sidling roads that are listed there, so that the sidling roads such as Gillespie Place, could be the 60 or 50 and leave Mapara at the 70?
We can do that.
That would be my suggestion.
Yeah, that's sensible.
Yeah, make all those side roads 60 and Mapara
50.
The only reason why we do it, we propose this way, is because of the consistency of that, and and signage, for signage reasons as well. But we can separate Mapara out.
I think good suggestion. Give those side roads 50 and Mapara 70. Cool. Broadlands Road. This is from State 1 to View Road, so that's basically going past the new power station, isn't it?
So we've got the suggestion there, no change.
Sorry. Wake up. No change. You still happy with no change? Mapara Road.
That's again a no change.
No change. Whakaaro Road. 80k.
That's a no change as well.
Koipi Road. No change. No change. Koipi Road. No change. Good. Very good. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Sorry.
John, did you want to go back to page 1?
Yeah. Sorry, just through the chair, just hang on, down here. Should have gone to Specsavers. Line 29. Did we discuss that? Are we going to take Mapara Road out or leave it in?
We were going to take it out. Take Mapara out.
And leave it all the side roads.
Make all the little ones 50.
And Mapara Road 70. What is Mapara Road? 70. Good idea, right?
Kevin's looking worried.
Clearview.
Good luck going up Hillview Drive at 70 k's an hour.
Eh?
Good luck going up Hillview Drive at 70 k's an hour.
Oh yeah, true.
Look, the reality is you actually can't even drive at 60 on most of these roads anyway. It makes sense. I'd be more than happy to suggest, as has been, was it Christine or Kylie said, drop that to 50. Take Mapara Road out.
What a good idea, Kevin.
Drop
That's what I've said.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, we said that. That's 22.
But you haven't taken Mapara Road out.
Yeah, loosen the tyre.
It's actually approximately 22 minutes ago.
Hey, Kevin, don't worry, I'm on your side.
All right. Resolution. Thank you very much, Bryce and Dennis, and extensive, a lot of work done on that, a lot of workshops that we've had.
All right, just one more thing. When we are putting this to Whakakotahi, are we able to also put, I know it's not our road, but for Maratiri School, to say that we would like to see it
be the same as Tirohanga, even though it's not our jurisdiction, but that's what we would like to see for consistency in our district.
Yes.
Thank you.
They're currently writing the interim speed management plan, their one, right now. So it's time when we could
put a toe school into that as well, please.
So,
they've got nothing at all.
so through the chair, just for clarity, it would be good if we could do that. And I'm aware at the last Regional Land Transport Committee, Maratiri School was raised specifically around speed limits, not the least of which was a certain councillor from another district has his grandchildren there, so he's been banging that drum for a while.
That's right. I know what you mean. Yeah. All right. Okay. Suggested recommendation up there. Do I have a mover, please? For this? Yeah, I think so.
Yep.
That's good point, Councillor Park. We did change a couple of things. Thank you, gentlemen. Do I have a move, please? Did you move, Councillor Park? Seconded by Councillor Taylor. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against?
Clarification, is this for a year?
Is this for, sorry?
No, is indefinitely. Okay.
All right. 4.11. We carry on.
No, 4.10.
4.10. Revocation of the speed limit bylaw. 2018.
Through you, Your Worship, just introducing you to Hayley Wood. You may have met Hayley previously, but this is her first presentation at council.
Oh,
so
welcome, Hayley. How are you? Nice to see you. Welcome. Sit down and relax. We're quite a friendly bunch. All right. Revocation.
Okay, good afternoon. I'm here to talk to you about revoking the 2018 speed limit bylaw. So I'm taking the report as read. In May of this year, the land transport rule was updated and became legislation. And basically that rule provides a new process, which Bryson has discussed, that the National Speed Limit Register is now the new legal mechanism for speed limit changes and controls on the roads, which removes the requirements to set limits through the council's bylaw. Taupō District Council staff have already migrated speed limit data into the NSLR, which means that there is no further reason to have this bylaw from us, and it had also stated that there's no need to consult on the matter. So, yeah.
Sounds good. Councillor Park.
Yes, so thank you. So we've just done a whole bunch of work around the draft speed limits, which will go through a process, which was literally the last time locals will have a say on speed limits on their road, because it's all been regionalised. So this basically is just a technical item to remove a bylaw. It doesn't mean that past speed limits that aren't before the bylaw can be resorted back to. Like, is there a transition period, or is it that we revoke this today and immediately that the regional system is the legal technical system for the traffic management, police, everyone to rely on?
Yeah, so to put this in another way, if we weren't doing our speed management plan, we would still have to do this. The National Speed Limit Register is the new way of having speed limits enforced. It is the new place that speed limits get held. That's where they get held, it's where they get upheld and enforced. So even if we didn't do a speed management plan and we weren't proposing changes, we would still have to go through this paper, this process today. Essentially.
Yeah.
Does that answer the question, or? Yeah.
Very good. Okay, nothing else? That's it. Thank you very much. Is it recommendation up there to revoke? Can I have a move, please? Thank you, Councillor Rankin, seconded by Councillor Williamson. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. 4.11, continuation of the Lake Taupō Protection Project Joint Committee, the Taupō District Licensing Committee. Shani.
Tēnā koutou, Your Worship and Councillors. As you know, committees are disestablished at the time of the election. However, the Local Government Act does enable you to continue committees through into the next triennium if you would like to do that. We are recommending today that you continue the Taupō District Licensing Committee and the Lake Taupō Protection Project Joint Committee. I can confirm that Waikato Regional Council has resolved to continue the Lake Taupō Protection Project Joint Committee at a meeting held last week. So recommend that you do the same so we have a joined up approach. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Shani. Any questions, Shani?
Just in complete support, knowing what's happening around that. So thank you for bringing this item to us, Shani.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Worship. Thank you, and also thanks, Shani. Obviously, given that the Crown are also one of the settlers of the project as well, so yeah, this makes sensible. So definitely support it. So I'd move the recommendation.
Cool. So moved by Councillor Leonard.
Chairman, just before you do
sorry,
that, could I respectfully ask that it be held in 2 votes? Because I wish to vote for the first one, but I'll be abstaining from the second one because of a conflict of interest.
Sure. So can we split that up? Yep. Split up 1 and 2. The licensing committee 1 and number 2 protection. So are you happy to move? Well, it's been moved and seconded. The first one. So a new number 2. Can we have a mover for the? Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Guy. Seconded by Councillor Truman. And that's all those in favour. Please say aye. Against? Councillor Body's interest in that. Very good. Okay, moving on. 4.12 members' reports. Any members' reports? No? All good. Okay, now it's 4.13 valedictory speeches from outgoing councillors.
If they wish.
If you wish. And of course, some of us don't know whether we're outgoing or not, do we? So I'm not too sure if anyone wants to say anything. Councillor Guy.
Thank you. 3 years ago, as I put myself forward for election, my desire was to continue to back my community with a focus on the future of our district. Despite certain challenges during this triennium, I'm proud to have had the opportunity to fulfil this through my role as a councillor and the various committees of council, steering groups and council representative positions that I have been part of over the past 3 years. 2 of the steering groups are very dear to my heart, and I would just like to highlight those. To have been part of the Waiora House Redevelopment Steering Group has highlighted to me the absolute need for social services and targeted support for those in our community that are our district's most vulnerable residents. To have this purpose-built facility nearing completion next year will make a huge impact on our social sector's ability to provide wraparound services to those in need of help. I feel very humbled to have been part of the team that will enable this to become a reality. The second is the new airport terminal. This development has secured our district's future for tourism and economic development, and I'm confident it will be a place-making icon for our district and will be the envy of many other airports. As chair of the Kinloch Representative Group, I've engaged openly and regularly with the Kinloch community and have had a great team of elected local reps and councillors who have worked together for the good of this community. Over the past 3 years, we've seen some significant investment into Kinloch to make it more resilient and cater for the future growth. I will miss the regular interactions with some of our more engaging and passionate members of this great community. As an elected member, there has been the need to make hard and often brave decisions, not only for our current but also for our future ratepayers. Some of these decisions not everyone has agreed with, but at no time did I lose my integrity in coming to a point of consensus while maintaining an open mind at all times. Taupo, we know, is unique in its terms of tangata whenua and its natural resources, and I'm proud during this term to have supported the Māori wards in Mana Whakahono Arohi Agreement, as diversity and co-governance is paramount to ensure an inclusive and true representation of Māori across the district. I believe it's important that Māori are included in all aspects of planning, not just as advisors but as equal partners. As we move forward, Council has an obligation to drive future economic development to ensure ongoing sustainability of our district. Our business and corporate community are the drivers of our economy, and without strong and progressive planning decisions being made by Council, we do not have an employed community to drive social change for our district. I would like to acknowledge Mayor David for his leadership and fellow councillors for their commitment and at times robust and sometimes cynical discussions. I trust and hope that most, if not all of you, will be re-elected as members to enable some continuity and without any loss of momentum needed to drive our district forward, which in the near future may become very challenging with the changes of local government. Gareth, I would like to thank you and your team for the outstanding and inclusive communication during this triennium. The information and workshops provided have been invaluable in making informed decisions on which to base our future strategies. So thank you to the exec team, both old and new, and also to you, Gareth. Finally, I would just like to take this moment to sincerely thank all those that voted for me in 2019. Without their confidence and trust in me, I would not have had this opportunity to serve my district. Thank you.
Councillor Mack, lovely words.
So I'd like to do it off the cuff, but I can't, so I'm going to read this. So just over 3 years ago, I threw my hat in the ring to be a voice. We all know my story and why I felt it was important. Funny enough, though, I'm not a people person in the sense that I find social settings awkward, meeting strangers difficult, and I actually don't even like being hugged. So not the person for public life you'd think, but if you give me a purpose and a structure, I cope well, and with the belief I needed to make a difference, I stood. The best thing Council did for me was at our initial bonding retreat. The Gallup personality questionnaire and findings were for me a life-changing moment. It didn't make me want to change myself, but it did give me an understanding of why I am the way I am. So when we discussed things, I realized I wasn't being difficult when I would question something. It was because I felt someone was either being advantaged or disadvantaged with what we were doing. And Gallup told me I had a trait where I believed that we're all equal. Knowing that's how my brain works was a great way to accept how I was and stick to my beliefs. Hence, I probably was quite a vocal councillor. Of course, it would never have been as enjoyable without everyone who was sitting around this table, because without your help and understanding that Turangi really did need everything I was campaigning for, it was never going to happen. From my point of view, when we discussed and made decisions about Turangi, I never felt money was what was going to stop the projects. It was whether you all felt the same passion. And much as I believe in being prudent with ratepayers' money, it was more than that. This was about a community who didn't have the basics. No sports facility, we won't talk about the shipping containers we call an asset, no destination playground, and no building big enough or warm enough to house even 300 of our people. So as we started the journey of the last 3 years, I really enjoyed everyone's real belief that no matter what, we were going to show Turangi that they did matter, and having facilities that they could be proud of was our goal. I laugh to myself now when I think at the start, when we had workshops and we talked about Taupo, I'd always put my hand up and say, what about Turangi? I felt it almost became expected for me to raise my hand, but as time went on, I saw a change and the workshops would be about Taupo and Turangi. I would then watch you, Kirsty, put your hand up and say, what about Mangakino? That's when we became one, and the district I always wanted it to be, a district about us all. I really want to thank all of my fellow councillors. Okay. I really want to thank all of my fellow councillors. You have been so supportive, and we've been able to discuss and debate honestly and effectively, and a lot of councils could learn from you as a group. To you, Mayor David, and you, Gareth, our CEO. You have both been very supportive and understanding of my quirks. To the Taupō District staff, from the executive leaders to the front line, you have been nothing but professional, supportive and helpful to me. Without you all, none of what we've achieved would have happened. I wish everyone who is standing again good luck in your endeavours to be re-elected. For my fellow councillors who are retiring, doesn't it feel good to know that we can switch our phones off and only be answerable to friends and family? Again, I thank you. It's been humbling, enjoyable and a privilege to work alongside you all.
Yeah, okay, so being the young guy I am, I'm completely unprepared, so I am going to go off the cuff a little bit. But just, look, echoing the words of my two colleagues here that have spoken, look, it's been a journey. So I entered this space of council in 2013, my first bid, but that was with the community board. And I suppose you could say I've been, I think about my former sort of employer, work colleague, Jan Lockyer, who was working away at me for a few years and saying you should stand for the board, and I thought, oh, okay. So I did that in 2013, and it was an awesome experience to be part of it. And I mean, it was quite shocking initially because I went from coming into the space, then being elected a very young chair, and so leading that board for 3 years, certainly I had to put on my my big boy pants and pull my socks up and get used to this local government space. But in effect, I got a real taste for local government in terms of what it really does. You know, we come here, we discuss various kaupapa, many important things, but it's always measured by the impact it has on the people, you know, whether they be young kids or whether they be the elderly, just the impact on people. And so, you know, I enjoyed that first 3 years, and I thought, you know what, I'll have a crack for the for Taupō District Council as a councillor. So I made that bid, and I got in 2016. Yep, 3 years. And yeah, what an awesome journey to have been part of. I mean, a lot of the things have been articulated by my colleagues, but can I say this past 3 years has been certainly the most notable for me. Not just in what's been acknowledged, the camaraderie that sits within this space, but just the progression that we've made, the decisions that we've made, and the impact that it has on everybody. You know, things of note that John talks about back home, I didn't think were achievable, but in this past 3 years, being able to support our significant number of projects at the southern end, because whilst I know we sit here as district councillors and we certainly apply that view, there's always a piece of us that sits with our homes. So being able to see that transition certainly was really awesome to be a part of. I do want to say I think this has been the most progressive council I've ever seen and I know of. And so I think we should all pat ourselves on the back in terms of the courage that we've shown to step through some of these things. The establishment of our Māori wards, the establishment of Te Mana Whakahonua Arohe. These are all really important things that will help this council and our communities sort of move forward. So it's been awesome to be a part of that and to stand with you guys in moving some of those various kaupapa forward. I think about the people that have come before us, particularly for me as a proud tūwharetō man. I think about the previous councillors that have been at this table with a tūwharetō hat on, and I acknowledge them because I think all of us are here currently because of our passions and desires to see things move forward. But we all come with our whakapapa. We all come with our who's been sitting on our shoulders, how that moves through to what we are today. So I just want to acknowledge those previous ones. It has been said, and I just want to reinforce this, the support from staff, both past and present. I still think vividly of Miss Tina Jakes and her I think I'll call it my schooling for the first 3 years of being a chair, and the value we need to place on our staff. I hate using that term staff, they're our team, but the skills and the knowledge that our people have had over the years has been incredible, and I just want to acknowledge you, Gareth, and our team for that support to me directly and to our council. But yeah, certainly to my colleagues sitting here today, yeah, look, it's been awesome. I think we have a lot of fun, and we're not too precious about telling the occasional joke. I mean, look at today's as an example. I mean, you eventually caught up, Kevin. That's okay, but you know, it's just and lovely to see you in a suit and tie. But I mean, this is the stuff that builds good culture, is to have an environment where people can have a bit of laugh, get serious when we need to, make decisions when we need to, debate when we need to, but still come out of this chamber as friends and colleagues. So, you know, with all that said, I will miss the space. I will miss the contribution that I've been able to make in some way, shape or form. I'll miss the banter. I don't know if I'll miss the million phone calls about long grass, trees blocking my view, barking dogs. I've tripped up on that bump. I don't know if I'll miss that stuff, but certainly I will miss interacting with our community in the way that we all know how to do, whether it be walking in town or elsewhere. I certainly will miss that social interaction. And I do just want to acknowledge my buddy John, and you know, I think as a team, I think we've worked really well in this space. And I still remember our first conversation when we got on, where, and I don't mind going on record on this way, where we had a conversation about how we were going to work together, and more particularly how we needed to present ourselves to this council so that we were able to move things through. And not to say we made all these decisions on our own, but I think that's sometimes how you need to operate. And that's an important acknowledgement. We may come in here with our views about what we want to achieve, but ultimately we need to work together, and we need to work as a collective when moving through these things. But I do just want to acknowledge you, John, and the support you've given me, and hopefully I've reciprocated as we've moved through this journey together. I'll certainly miss some of the morning tea shouts that you've bought. Well, I don't know, can we acknowledge that to you, or does that need to go to Zane? Anyway, you bought it, so it's you. But yeah, just want to sort of acknowledge you. So yeah, and me, David, yeah, it goes without saying, you are certainly a mayor for all, and your humour is always brings a bit of a bright spark, even though sometimes I think you might get us in trouble, but it sort of goes with the territory. So yeah, with that all said, look, really have loved my time. We'll miss the space, but I was just saying to some of the team earlier, you know, I'm not going anywhere. This is still home. I work down the road, and I'm likely to be back here with my other hats, be it with Lake Taupo Protection Project Joint Committee, even the JMA with the Trust Board. So I'm not really going anywhere, but you know, it's certainly been a pleasure to serve with you also. Kia ora.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not quite sure where to start after having three. I think they've said just about everything I could actually say. But firstly, I'd just like to acknowledge my wife, Ruth, who for 54 years has been a very, very good supporter of mine for the ups and the downs. And to Joan Heather Mickelson, who have been lifelong friends. I met Joe back in 1980 when we applied for a scholarship to Massachusetts, and believe it or not, we both got through. So I'm very grateful for that friendship that's gone on since that time. But I came to council from a different background. I had 30 years of governance before I put my hand up in 2013 to become a councillor, and I learnt a lot. In my farming days in Taranaki, I was a director of a dairy company, a demonstration farm, a large veterinary group, and I was the first farm cadet at 16 in the Federated Farmers Farm Cadet Training Scheme. And in later years, I went on to spend 13 years as chairman of that board, and 6 years as chairman, 13 years on that board. I also got involved with agricultural politics, which is an interesting beast when you're dealing with a host of things back in the 60s and 70s and even the 80s. And believe it or not, I was a strong supporter of Rogernomics. But what happened in my agricultural background was I had the fortitude to be involved with the International Dairy Federation. I worked for a little while in our embassy in Washington, and one of the jobs there was to go and talk to the senators from the Republics and the Democrats about the use of subsidies in international farm trade. And just as a matter of interest, when I was in Washington, I was interviewed by a dairy magazine called Dairy Today, one of the most widely circulated agriculture magazines in the States, and I appeared on its cover. The only farmer in New Zealand that's actually done that, and it was a very, very interesting exercise. And just as a sidebar, while I was in Washington, I got invited to the welcome back for the America's Cup team at the embassy in Washington, which was something to really believe. Part of my trips also got me into Tokyo, where at one stage I was asked by our embassy in Korea to go and talk to Korean farming groups about the loosening up of the international rice trade. And that's where you really come to grips with what we do around this table, on a bigger scale, but it's the same. It's to get an outcome to suit everyone. And I was also fortunate in a conference in Istanbul when I was made the Dairy Group Chairman for the International Federation of Agricultural Producers. And just as an aside, IFAT was formed in 1946. It had 600 farm family members from 79 countries and 120 farm organisations. And at that stage, I was the highest ranked farmer from New Zealand to hold that international position. And that also gave me an insight into what governance is really about. So in 2013, when we sold our accommodation business in Bonshaw Park, I had got involved in this district with the Councillor Park will well remember the decision by council to go from land value to capital value. I had a petition sent out where we got 8,000 signatures, and I led a march on the council building. And what was interesting, and Kevin might have a smile on this, when I arrived to lead the demonstration, the officer in charge of the traffic said, "How far do you want to get from the council building?" And I said, "Oh, by the fire station will do." He said, "What about stone throwing distance?" So I thought that was quite amusing. I then, because of that factor, and once again, those that were here in the day, I started attending council meetings probably 18 months before I put my hand up. The reason being, I wanted to get a feel of what happens within the chamber and how decisions are made. Now, all those that have spoken have complimented the staff on the way they do their jobs. I don't always agree. Andrew, I've just disagreed with you a little bit today. We don't always agree, but we come to a conclusion at the end of the day, right or wrong. And my father always told me that in a board meeting, you can be as hard as you like on the fellow director that you're sitting with, but when you go outside, you shake hands and have a beer. I've never forgotten that. I don't bear grudges, and a lot's happened to me in the last 2 years. I don't take that necessarily to heart because there's always tomorrow. And what I've found in my portfolio of the older person, which I hope whoever becomes the mayor continues, is that group of people that are often overlooked. Now, one example will be in Age Friendly. We've just endorsed their Age Friendly document. And yet in town, there's 15 seats in Ruapehu Street Quarter with Tongariro, and one of those 15 seats has an armrest. We're age friendly. So that is an area that I think this council needs to put more emphasis on, because age friendly is not whether you're 95, it's whether you're a 2-year-old trying to sit on a seat in the park. So my brief time, the 9 years has gone quick. I've enjoyed supporting particularly Turangi and Mangakino. I used to attend all their meetings, and I think we've made some large movements in the right direction for other parts of the community that aren't just town-centric. And I've been concerned listening to the debates of some of those that wannabes, I suppose you could call them, that talk about the town, not the district. So that's about all I've got to say, and I've said this to Shaney by email. I'd like to thank Shaney, who has given me the hard copies. Thank you. And that's cost how many pine trees in 9 years, I don't know. And also for Cornelia in the office, who has been a delightful person to work with. And so best wishes to those that are standing again. Good luck for those that are retiring, but I'm not answering my phone anymore either. Yeah. Thank you.
Very good. Oh, that's lovely. Some lovely words there, and thank you so much on behalf of the people of Taupo for your contribution. I'm really, really sorry. I'm going to have to take off because I've got to go to the church service, so I have to ask the deputy mayor to carry on, but I'll attend it, and hopefully we'll still be here in 45 minutes. But thank you so much, councillors, and yeah, lifelong friends, and I'm sure we're going to see each other for a long time, and appreciate the complimentary remarks and that you've done well. You've done your job. You've served the district well, and we're in such a better space.
It gave me great pleasure to move the resolution, Your Worship.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Park, seconded by Councillor Leonard. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Now, how are we going to do the...
do the resolution through the public.
Yeah.
And then use the department here.
Yeah. Okay, so what's the public going to do? Where are they going to go? Outside? Yeah, we'll do the confidential part before the afternoon tea. Okay, sorry, we're just going to, we just move for the public confidential part. Could I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Westman, seconded by Councillor Park. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. So we'll just be about 10 minutes and then we'll have a cup of tea.